We are live. What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live for NFL Free Agency 2023, a live news and analysis with yours truly. It's Mitch of the BLV, and I'm going to be breaking down all the latest news across the NFL for NFL Free Agency as it unwraps. We're talking re-signings, we're talking free agency signings, trades, cuts, whatever goes down. I'm going to be here as long as I possibly can stand it. And then we're also going to do it again later tonight. There's expected to be a ton of action for NFL free agency today, as it is the opening legal tampering period. I don't know why they call it that. I don't know why they just don't start it today and say, hey, it's NFL free agency. I don't know why they call it that. But regardless, I'm here live. I'm going to be here live. And let's have a good time, man. So make sure that you Gronk spike the like button. Make sure you, if you haven't, subscribe for the latest news, latest analysis in the NFL for free agency. Let's go, guys. Let's go. What's going on, everybody, in the comments? What's up, Harley Quinn? What's up, Caesar? How you doing? Thanks for joining. What's up, Crazy Guy? Sing. Thank you guys for joining the chat. And let me know if you have any questions about NFL free agency. Right now it's showing that nobody is here, which is very odd, but it has 9 likes. That must be a glitch. But anyways, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining. Okay, let's discuss whatever has been already discussed, and let's check it out. So it looks like New England, for Patriots fans out there, have been making some moves. So let's begin with the first move, which is the Jonnu Smith trade. So Jonnu Smith, the tight end of the New England Patriots, has been traded to the Atlanta Falcons for a 7th round selection in this year's NFL draft. This is a move for the Patriots where they can get rid of some cap space in order to sign some of their own players that are free agents, also some free agent targets, potentially at other positions of need, like the linebacker position, cornerback position, or wide receiver, maybe even offensive line. We will see what the Patriots do today, but they've already been pretty active on their own front, re-signing some players, and also trading Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith was a tight end that the Patriots signed a couple years ago, back in their big blockbuster offseason where they signed just about everybody in free agency, from Nelson Aguilar to Matt Judon to Hunter Henry. And Jonnu Smith was a key piece of that offseason. Everybody thought he'd be the athletic tight end, post-Gronkowski, that could take the Patriots offense to tight end formations. And it never worked out. He never worked out in New England. He wasn't successful in New England. They didn't figure out how to utilize him, and he was a complete bust of a signing. But now they have moved on from Jonnu Smith, getting a 7th round pick in return from the Atlanta Falcons. Why does Atlanta want Jonnu Smith? He has a pretty big contract. Why they want him is because of Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith was his general manager was his offensive coordinator in Tennessee, and he utilized him well, which is what got the contract from the New England Patriots back in 2020. So Jonnu Smith is going to be able to be a nice movable piece, a chess piece for the Atlanta offense, somebody that Arthur Smith really likes as a receiver and a blocker and a great athlete at the tight end position. Maybe he will better utilize Jonnu Smith than Matt Patricia or Josh McDaniels were able to do. On top of that, he may be able to pair with Kyle Pitts at that tight end position, because Kyle Pitts is basically a receiver, right? So you can't really think of Kyle Pitts as a tight end. He doesn't do a lot of blocking. He is a slot receiver. He moves to the outside. He does some different things, but he is not an actual inline tight end. Jonnu Smith is more of an inline tight end. And that is something that I feel like they did need, was that complementary tight end piece to Arthur Smith's offense and to Kyle Pitts. So that's interesting. We'll see how that works out in Atlanta. I am happy as a Patriots fan that we moved on from Jonnu Smith to get some more cap space and to open up some flexibility to sign other players, because As much as it would have been fine for me to have him around as that second tight end and another option in the receiving game, I think the money would be better utilized elsewhere. So I'm happy as a Patriots fan. I think Falcons fans should just be aware that, yeah, it didn't work out in New England, but he had success with Arthur Smith. So you should be positive about that move, in my opinion. Depending on what they do with the contract, maybe they can reconstruct it and then move forward from there. But we'll see. I don't really know the exact terms in terms of all the money and stuff like that. What's going on, everybody? Make sure you Gronk spike the like button. I don't know what's going on with my live thing here. Gronk spike the like button if you haven't already. It's showing that I know that people are watching right now, but it says 0 people, which is absolutely weird. So I hope that's just on my end. I don't know what that's about. What's up, Becca? What's up, Spence? What's up, Chris? How you doing, Nick? Okay. Let's discuss more news. I'm actually going to pull up Twitter, I think. It's been kind of quiet to start here, but I feel like things are going to unfold like in the next 10-ish minutes. So let's see what's going on. So the Eagles free agent TJ Edwards plans to sign with the Chicago Bears. I believe I saw it was a 3-year contract. I could be wrong about that. Falcons have re-signed their fullback Keith Smith to a 1-year deal. We'll talk about TJ Edwards here in a second. Jonathan Jones also has re-signed with the New England Patriots. So on top of that Jonnu Smith trade and Jonnu Smith news for the Patriots, they have re-signed one of their key free agents, Jonathan Jones. I actually didn't think the Patriots would re-sign Jonathan Jones. I thought he would get more money elsewhere, potentially with Brian Flores in Minnesota or Josh McDaniels with the Raiders. But he is back as a Patriot, and I love it because I've always been a fan of Jonathan Jones. Last year, he really proved his versatility. 2-year contract is perfect for him because he's getting a little bit older, but he can still play. He's got great speed, and I think he's very important when you're facing the Miami Dolphins, when you're facing Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and then the shiftier receivers like Stephon Diggs in the division. I think he's an important corner to keep around. He's also somebody with great versatility. He can play on the perimeter. He can play in the nickel. He has been at his best in the nickel position. I maybe would expect him to move back there depending on what the Patriots do for the rest of this offseason and who they add to the cornerback position. I would like to see him back there. They could also move Marcus Jones, the second-year player and the star returner, to that position as well into the future. But Jonathan Jones is a corner that I really like, a player that I really like. He's been a mainstay of the Patriots since about 2017, 2016, and good leader for the back end that lost Devin McCourty, but good man-to-man corner, has proven to be, somebody that can adjust his game, come back from injuries, just a great overall Patriot. Glad to have him back. I'm not sure what the money is just about yet, but I'm just happy that he's back on the roster and on this defense. Was a huge piece to that defense last year. But I would even say that depending on what the money is, I could see Jonathan Jones being even better than last year because if he moves back to his natural position of the nickel position, I could see him being even more impactful in that spot. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you do Gronk spike the like button. Let's try to get those likes up, guys, for more people across YouTube and the NFL space to find this video. So make sure that you Gronk spike the like button. And if you are new scrolling across this video, make sure to subscribe. Jonathan Jones is back with the Patriots. Jonnu Smith will not be back with the Patriots. Somebody that has found a new home is TJ Edwards. So, TJ Edwards, linebacker of the Philadelphia Eagles, has signed with the Chicago Bears. TJ Edwards is a Chicago Bear. 3 years, $19.5 million deal, which is actually a bit cheaper than I thought he would go for on the open market. But it's $12 million guaranteed, so a large portion of it is guaranteed. But TJ Edwards is a solid linebacker. I don't think he's anything special. I don't think he's a standout player, but he's a good player. and he's also pretty young. I want to say TJ Edwards is about 25, 26 years old, coming from the NFC champion defense of the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the best linebacker on the Eagles. He's pretty well-rounded in his game, doesn't have any clear flaws. He's slight in his frame. He's not a bigger linebacker. He moves well. He's good in coverage, I would say, more than anything else. Pretty smart, and to me, an ascending linebacker in this league. He's been getting better with every season. If you check his Pro Football Focus grades, he's been, going up and up and up. And pretty much, I would say over the past couple of years has been flirting with like a top 20 linebacker in this league. So he's a clear number one linebacker in the NFL right now, and a huge bonus for the Chicago Bears, like a huge upgrade for the Chicago Bears linebacking position, because they were terrible last year post Roquan Smith. This is a guy that's a cheaper alternative to Roquan Smith. I was curious to see what Matt Eberflus and company, Ryan Poles, would do at linebacker, considering that they traded Roquan Smith, who's one of the best, if not the best linebacker in the NFL. So you trade him away. Are you going to go out there and then give big money to a linebacker on the open market after trading Roquan Smith? Didn't make a ton of sense to me, right? So they don't do that. What they do is that they bring in a cheaper alternative who still is a very solid football player. Don't expect a standout linebacker, but a guy that's just very steady, knows his job, performs it well, and I like the contract, 3 years, gonna play his prime in Chicago, you would hope. And he's a good system fit for what Matt Eberflus likes to do. A lot of zone coverages, a lot of cover two. TJ Edwards has that range to be able to cover in this defense, in the middle of this defense. So it's a solid signing, not too much money. I think it's very solid cash and very solid value for somebody like TJ Edwards. So Bears fans, let me know. I know Nicholas Gill is in here, but yeah, that's the first real signing, I think, of the day. So that's interesting. TJ Edwards to the Bears. Former Eagles exec Ian Cunningham, now assistant GM with the Bears. Expect them to be players for Isaac Samalu. Okay. Interesting. So Isaac Samalu also could be on his way to the Chicago Bears. Nick says that the Bears are closing in on Mcglinchey. Bears run professional football. He says that TJ Edwards, now Mcglinchey. Becca says Shanahan and Lynch better start doing something or I'll show up at Levi's and riot. I don't know if they're going to be players right away in free agency. I don't think they have that type of cash like the Bears do, but I think they'll be players kind of later on, maybe tomorrow, maybe a move or two today, but nothing too crazy, I would say. Josh says Panthers smokescreen. What do you mean by Panthers smokescreen? About who they're going to pick. What's up, Jonathan? How you doing, man? Yeah, Patriots got a deal done with Jonathan Jones. Good to see. Okay. Nothing on Jacoby Myers yet. Thank you guys for joining live. Appreciate it. That is so weird that it says 0. That's so weird. Except we have 30 people in here and only half the people have liked the video, so that's disappointing. What's up, Jonathan? How you doing, man? Something going on with Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler is requesting permission to speak with other teams about a potential trade after preliminary talks with the team aimed at a contract extension did not progress with his agent. Okay. So Austin Ekeler could be moved. That's interesting. Did not expect to see that today. Deshaun says, hey, Mitch, what's going on, Deshaun? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining the chat, bro. Okay. Just waiting on the next news. If anyone sees anything, please let me know. The Buccaneers are exploring trade possibilities with guard Shaq Mason, per sources, with a $9.6 million cap hit. Mason could become a cap casualty for the cap-strapped Bucs. A quality guard appears ready to enter the market. Interesting. So, Shaq Mason could be on the move for teams that need a guard. Where do we think Austin Ekeler would go? You know what? I wonder if Jonathan Jones could move to free safety. Patriots fans, what do you think? I wonder if Jonathan Jones could move to free safety given Devin McCourty retired. And Jonathan Jones is a little bit up there in age. He knows the defense extremely well. Could he move to safety? That's a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Even though he's been really good at corner. You know, we have it feels like we have a lot of young prospects at that position. So, I mean, he could move to free safety. I wouldn't be too shocked. Jonathan says, doing pretty good. Hope the Bucs don't lose Lavonte David. I do think that Lavonte David is going to leave, unfortunately, for Bucs fans. I mean, and honestly, I think that's probably the best way to go at this point. You're rebuilding. And as much as he is a legend of the team, I don't think you want to have him on the books for the next 2 to 3 years. As fans, you'd like to see him retire with the team, obviously, but I think just the direction your team is going, you'd probably rather rebuild and get younger and have that cap for some younger players. That's just me, though. I can understand fans wanting Lavonte David to retire a Buccaneer. I get it. I just also feel like their team is headed in a different direction. Jordan says, I didn't expect to get Jones back, so I'm happy for it. Yeah, I expected him to leave as well, just given that we drafted a couple corners last year, and I thought there was a lot of corner, needy teams out there that could have used him and maybe paid him more than we were willing. But it's nice to have a lot of cap space. And when you have a lot of cap space, you can kind of re-sign who you like, right? So it's not a matter of we've got to pick and choose. The Patriots pretty much have enough cap space to sign whoever they want. So it's just a matter of how many big moves do you want to make. What do I think about the Ekeler request? I think it's interesting. I'm surprised by it. I've never seen Ekeler as a guy that went out of his way to kind of, want to get moved or want to get a new contract. But hey, he's in his prime right now. He's coming off 2 seasons of a bunch of touchdowns. Fantasy players know that well. And he's a running back, so he's got to get paid in this window. So I understand if the Chargers are not willing to pay him what he wants, why not ask for a trade? I do think it's a great fit with the Chargers. He's done very well with Justin Herbert. I do feel like Kellen Moore coming to town, it would only be good for him. But, Austin Ekeler's a really good player. I feel like he can fit anywhere. I would say, though, that I don't think I would value him on the market as much as other people would. I feel like because of his size and his age, I don't think he would get a large market. I don't think he's going to get a ton of money on the open market. I don't think he's going to garner, a second-round pick plus like Christian McCaffrey did, for example. I think he's older than McCaffrey. He's small. He's taken impact the last couple of years. So he's a really good running back that I feel like if you're a contending team, if you're the Buffalo Bills, you should be in on Austin Ekeler. If you're the Bengals and Joe Mixon is leaving, you should be in on Austin Ekeler. If you're the Chiefs, you should be in on Austin Ekeler. But if you're a team that's maybe, maybe you're a playoff team, maybe not, I'd probably stay away, honestly. I would only look to add him if I was a team that really was in the championship window. And that's how I feel about Austin Ekeler. Like the player a lot, but I don't feel he's worth a huge contract. I wouldn't say he's in the McCaffrey territory or even the Josh Jacobs territory either. So, good player, surprised by the news, feel like he only fits on a few teams. Thank you, Becca. Appreciate it. I thought that I should put on a decent looking shirt today because I am going to be live a couple of times. What's up, Bethel? Usually I just want to come on a hoodie. You know, that's usually me. But Bethel says a little late. I know. I'm sorry. Don't hate on the Steelers now. I don't hate on the Steelers, bro. I've been positive, pro Steelers. I don't know, Bethel, how much you watch my content anymore, buddy, but I've been pretty pro Steelers. I've been trying not to hate on them as of late. You know, I'm just realistic. You know what I mean? But I'm surprised you're not talking about the Dolphins, because I know that you like the Dolphins almost as much as you like the Steelers. Edward is in the chat. He says, "Sup, Mitch? Butterfinger Smith is gone." Yes, Jonnu Smith is gone to the Atlanta Falcons. If you guys did not hear that news, it's a 7th round pick for Jonnu Smith, which I liked Jonnu Smith. I thought that signing at the moment was a great one. I actually predicted it to happen. That's how much of a fit I thought it was at the time. But man, did that not work out, and we did not utilize him to his best ability, and he did not play well. So I think it's a great move for New England to get rid of him and that contract that was absolutely disgusting at the time. Like, they overpaid for him and Hunter Henry at the time. Hunter Henry at least has had some production and been a pretty good player for us, and we should keep him around. But the more that it looks like it, you know, Bill O'Brien's probably not going to be running a ton of 2 tight end formations here. I think it's going to be a lot of 3-4 receiver sets, you know, I formation stuff. Hunter Henry's going to be our guy this year and maybe next year. His contract's going to be interesting come next year, but I think he's going to stick around this year because he's had a good rapport with Mac Jones, and I think he was poorly utilized last year. Nicholas Gill says, "Where do you think Bates and Poyer will go?" So with Jordan Poyer, I think it's between 2 locations right now from what I've seen and from what I think. The Raiders, I think, are going to be pretty interested in Jordan Poyer. They really need a box safety and a guy that can cover tight ends, and probably Josh McDaniels and company, being in New England, probably know his play pretty well. And McDaniels studying that Bills tape for the last how many years with him on it. And then on top of that, I think that the Miami Dolphins make a lot of sense, given that he's actually said he would like to play in Miami, and I don't know if it's his girlfriend or his wife, is a model. And I could see, you know, that working in Miami just from a family standpoint or a relationship standpoint. He's a pretty, you know, big personality. Miami would make sense. And they need a strong safety or a box safety type to pair with Jawaan Holland. And those safeties are very important in Vic Fangio's defense. You know, think like Kareem Jackson. Jordan Poyer's pretty interesting kind of fit there as well. So I could see him going there. Anyone else? I mean, probably, but I haven't really thought of it off the top of my head. Maybe a team like Green Bay, but because Adrian Amos is a free agent, they have a lot of money. I'm just looking at the projected salary cap space right now on NFL Network. I have it on in the background. New 7th round corner for the Pats then? What do you mean 7th round corner? You think we're going to get a 7th round corner? Oh, the Baltimore Ravens are releasing Calais Campbell. That is news. I hope the Patriots are in on him. Wow, I'm shocked by that. I'm a little surprised by that, honestly. What's up, Instadash with love? What's going on, brother? Liam says, "Praying my Texans get Azeez Al-Shahir." What's up, Liam? Yeah, that would be a great fit. I feel like that's an awesome fit. I don't think it would cost a lot of money, and good player. Underrated, super underrated player. Miami is going to be interesting. I think Miami needs to sign a swing tackle to back up Teron Armstead. I think that's a huge priority for them, whether they know it or not. And a backup quarterback is going to have to be a huge move for them. Whether they take a swing in the draft, which might hurt Tua's ego, or they just sign like a Brissett or Minshew type. Not saying Marcus Mariota, somebody like that. They need to sign a backup quarterback, because Tua, one concussion, the guy's out for like 4 weeks. You can't. You've gone all in. You've got to have a backup there. Yeah, Calais Campbell released. I still think he's a very good player. Not what he used to be, but still a very good player. Can help teams, especially that need to stop the run. I'd keep an eye on the Giants for him. I'd keep an eye on the Giants for him on a 1-year deal. They need help in the run defense department, and Wink Martindale did coach him, I believe, last year or the year before that as well. So Calais Campbell to the Giants would make some sense. I'm hoping New England would be in on him. I wouldn't be surprised by the Steelers as well. He fits in with the Steelers. If I was Jacksonville, I would be interested in him. I think he fits the defense well in Jacksonville. Who else? Denver could maybe look at him. Probably not a reunion with the Cardinals, given the state of their team. Where else could he go? I don't think he really fits in Seattle, but they need some interior defensive line help. Any team that pretty much plays more of traditional like 3 down front with their interior players, five across, 3 interior, I feel like fits him. I don't think he can play edge anymore. I don't think he's athletic enough anymore. He used to play edge when he was in Jacksonville, but I don't think he can do that anymore. I think he's strictly like an interior player, and he's better off in like a 3-4 defense. So that's kind of the places I think he'll be. Oh, you're leaving already, Harley? I hope you come back. Jason Kelce returns to Philadelphia. Wow, that's shocking. I wouldn't have predicted that one. Super shocking. Yeah, Jason Kelce is one of the greatest centers of all time at this point. I think he's awesome. And I'm glad that he's playing, though. I will say that. I'm glad that the legend has returned. We're going to get one more year of Jason Kelce on the podcast with Travis Kelce, both in the league at the same time, which is fun, even though I'm not a regular listener of that podcast. For whatever reason, it's always on my TikTok, probably because Becca always sends me Travis Kelce thirst traps. So that's probably what it's because of. But yeah, Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, 2 of the greatest brothers in NFL history. Jason Kelce is back in the NFL. I did say hi to you. What are you talking about? Did you miss it at the beginning? I said hi to you like almost right away. How are you doing? I thought you left me for a minute there. I didn't see you on any of my comment sections, any of my live streams. I thought, where did Harley Quinn go? I literally thought this. I was like, where did she go? I was concerned. I was like, is she okay? Where is she? I hope she's all good with her work. Maybe she's too busy for the BLV anymore. She's left the community. Where do I see Emmanuel Mosley going? If you're asking Houston, I don't necessarily know about Houston just because I feel like their cornerback position is pretty good already. I don't think they're going to spend a ton of money, but that's a possibility on a 1-year deal type of thing. I had him going to Chicago because I just feel like he fits well there. It's not like a huge fit reasoning connection theory. It's just more so I felt like he fit on that defense well. The Jets could make some sense with Robert Saleh. Where else would make sense? Seattle would make sense as well. They like their big, long corners. Where else? Yeah, those are the primary ones that kind of stick out. I don't think he's going to have a huge market, but I definitely feel he's an underrated name out there. Yeah, I said hi to you early. Sorry if you missed it, Harley. Thanks for joining. We appreciate everybody that's joining, everybody that's Gronk spiking the like button. I know Bethel hasn't already, so Bethel's got to get on that. Gronk spike the like button. Mike Mcglinchey in Chicago trying to work out a deal. Yeah, Nick said that. I haven't seen any official news on that yet, so I'm just going to wait. Former Ravens guard Ben Powers is planning to sign a 4-year deal with the Denver Broncos. Powers started 36 games for Baltimore. Not surprised by that move. Not surprised at all that Ben Powers, the best pass blocking guard in free agency, is signing with Sean Payton's team. Wow! Shocking! Now, I had him going to the Buffalo Bills because I thought like they really needed a guard that could pass protect for Josh Allen. But the Denver Broncos, man, makes perfect sense. I think it's a really, really solid move by the Denver Broncos. I think Ben Powers is in his prime, about 26 years old. He's a good, like I said, PFF's highest graded guard, pass blocking in free agency, second overall. He does have some flaws in his run blocking, but he's not bad. I mean, he plays for Baltimore, so he's a scheme fit in Denver for Sean Payton as well. Typically what Sean Payton likes in his offensive linemen is big, ugly, power offensive linemen. He likes size because he comes from the Bill Parcells tree. You know, think Bill Belichick, think Sean Payton, and those are the type of guys that Sean Payton likes. So the connection between Baltimore and a Sean Payton scheme is not that surprising. Powers is a good football player in his prime, instantly going to upgrade the Denver Broncos offensive line and help protect Russell Wilson and allow him a little bit more time to move around and do his thing. So that's a huge move right away by the Broncos. I knew the Broncos would be aggressive. I didn't exactly know where they would target immediately, but the offensive line felt like a good place to start, and good move. I like that move a lot for Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. Do I think Jakobi Meyers returns to New England? I think there's a chance. I don't think it's... If I had to give it like a percentage, I'd probably say like 40%. I think it's like 40 to... It's almost like a 50-50 proposition with Jakobi Meyers. I could see them signing him, but I feel like it's one of those deals with Jakobi where they're going to let him test the market and see what he can get. And then Jacoby's going to come back to New England and say, okay, this is what they're offering me. This is how much per year. And then the agent will work it out from there. And if the Patriots want to match it, I think Jakobi will come back because I think he likes New England. But if not, I could see him leaving. So I like Jakobi. I don't think he's a special receiver. I think he's a solid number 2 receiver. And he's a really good possession receiver and a really solid slot receiver. He's also a great guy, like fantastic human being and a good leader. So I think he's just a hard worker. You know, he's really come from an undrafted player. So any place that gets him should be happy because Jakobi Meyers is consistent. Jakobi Meyers doesn't really get injured. And Jakobi Meyers consistently comes through on third down with catches. Just don't expect him to break open 40-yard gains. I will say that much. But if you're looking for a guy that can catch the ball for like on 3rd and 6 and get open, he's that guy. So Jakobi Meyers would be a solid number 2 for a team that already has maybe like a number 1 receiver, I would say. Or, you know, a team that might be looking to just upgrade their receiving core overall and has a lot of cap space. Like if you're a team like Carolina, I think Jakobi could go there. Where else? Houston was the place that I thought he could go to, just given the Nick Caserio connection and the fact that Brandon Cooks is getting older. He could want to trade, so that could be like a Brandon Cooks replacement. So that was kind of a place that I connected him to. Nick says, I've convinced myself that the Bears are signing Adam Thielen. I don't know, man. I don't see Adam Thielen going there. I don't think the Bears are going to sign a receiver. I think they're happy with their receivers. I think Darnell Mooney with DJ Moore and Chase Claypool, I think they're done at receiver. I think they made that move for DJ Moore because they didn't want to spend on this free agency crop. And I think that's the exact reason they waited for that exact move. Because I don't think they would have traded the first overall pick for that. Now, you said we need a slot. Also, on top of that, Adam Thielen is probably going to go to a place that has like an immediate chance for a Super Bowl. I don't see him going to a place like Chicago, who's still rebuilding. I feel like he's going to try to go to like Kansas City or a Buffalo or maybe like a Baltimore, something like that. I don't think he's going to try to go to more so a rebuilding team because of his age. I think he only has a couple years left of quality play. You need a slot. Chase Claypool has played a lot in the slot, so I wouldn't be surprised if he plays in the slot as like a big slot receiver. And that's where he's been pretty productive for the Steelers. DJ Moore can also play a lot in the slot too, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. the Bears are contending next year, it depends on the development of Justin Fields and this defense. I mean, you still got a long way to go. I know you signed TJ Edwards, but you still got an entire defensive line to build. So you're still a ways away. But 2024, I agree. That should be the season where you guys are trying to get to the playoffs. I would agree with that. I just feel like we still got to see the development of Justin Fields. Everything on the table is there for him to make that move, but we'll see if he can. Do you see the Cowboys making any moves besides re-signing current players? I've seen that they're in talks with Bobby Wagner, and that's something that I predicted would happen, by the way. Just pat on the back real quick. Don't think it's... with the Cowboys, they're weird. Like, the Cowboys are the team that I'm most frustrated with across the NFL. I feel like they have a window to win right now. They have a window to compete. I feel like if they made 2 or 3 big moves, they would be the best team in their conference. And for whatever reason, they don't make those moves. Every year, they take a step forward and then they take a step back. And they are never aggressive in free agency. Never. They're always about the draft. And I get it, but I also don't get it. The Cowboys should be attacking free agency right now with all their power and all their might, given the state of the NFC. The NFC is garbaggio. Like, it's terrible. The Niners are good, but they don't have a quarterback. The Philadelphia Eagles could be losing multiple key pieces to their team. The Packers are probably going to lose a Hall of Fame quarterback. The Vikings have lost half their defense already. What else? The Giants were a fraud all last year. Like, they got a long way to go. So the Cowboys should be all over this free agency. And for whatever reason, they're not. And I don't think they will be. I could see them maybe making a big move for a receiver. If there's a big move to be had by the Dallas Cowboys, it could be for a receiver. Whether it's for Odell or a trade for like Brandon Cooks, or maybe even like a smaller name like DJ Chark or Alan Lazard. But I could see them making a receiver move. But that's probably like the only move. That and linebacker. They might try to re-sign Leighton Vander Esch. I've seen that they've been talking to him. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm frustrated with that team. I feel like they should be doing more than they have. Okay, so nothing as of late. Ben Powers to the Broncos. If you guys haven't already, make sure you do Gronk Spike the like button. That allows more people to find this video. It allows more traction for the channel and hopefully more subscribers for the BLV and more chat members for the community. So make sure to Gronk Spike the like button. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Turn that notification bell on because this is the time of year you want that notification bell on just in case a news video breaks and I give you my analysis and my thoughts on all the latest news in the NFL. So make sure to Gronk Spike the notification bell after you have subscribed. Okay. Dan Graziano says sources with multiple teams believe the Broncos could trade a wide receiver. Denver has had talks with teams about Courtland Sutton. Okay, so I could see Dallas being in on Courtland Sutton. That makes sense to me. Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. Teams say the Broncos are asking high prices, not just dumping, but it's not out of the question one gets moved. I would like to see Jerry Jeudy in New England. For Patriots fans out there, that would be the guy that I would like out of those guys. KJ Hamler's intriguing too. I've always liked KJ Hamler. Lenny says, can't believe the Raiders are signing Calais Campbell and Jordan Poyer, Dave Ziegler masterclass. Haven't seen that happen yet, Lenny, but that would be pretty cool. I do wonder I think the most interesting thing about the Raiders is what do they feel their timetable is? What do they feel their window is? Do they feel they are competitive right now, or do they feel like they're in a rebuilding phase? So that's what I want to see from the Raiders, and I think their moves will indicate that. Ben Powers' deal is 4 years, $52 million with $28.5 million guaranteed. That's good money. It's not quite Chris Lindstrom money, Ultra's boy there at the guard position, but it's pretty good. Spub says, if we re-sign Dalton Schultz, the franchise is so cooked. You're not going to re-sign Dalton Schultz. I've seen and heard that they haven't even talked to Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is a good player, don't get me wrong, but the Cowboys could probably use that elsewhere. Okay, who's next here? Aaron Rodgers is definitely making these teams sweat over his decision. I feel like it's only really the Jets. I don't really know anywhere else, unless there's a team behind the scenes that we don't know of, or maybe Aaron Rodgers is going to say, I don't want to go to the Jets. Let's try to find a different team. Maybe. Nick says, did you see the Seahawks released Shelby Harris earlier today? I would think they have to be preparing to pay Poona Ford. They've got a lot of money, so I don't know if money is necessarily a reason they would. I guess they just don't feel like Shelby Harris is worth whatever they were paying him. But Shelby Harris was okay for them last year. But he'll quickly find a new team for probably 1 year. I wouldn't be surprised. But Poona Ford, I don't feel like he fit their defense last year. Like, I don't think he played that well last year. So I'd be a little surprised, honestly. I understand he's still like in his prime, younger. I didn't think he played as well last year as he did in previous years. So I would rather him go elsewhere if I were him. But I would understand it from a Seahawks standpoint. He is one of their like marquee free agents who's in his prime. I think he's 25 or 26. So he's like right in his prime. So it would make sense to re-sign him if you're Seattle. But you got to find a good, you got to find him to get better. Maybe they feel like he's undervalued right now after a bit of a down season, but I don't know, man. That's interesting though. Boys waiting for a big splash. Do the Cowboys ever make a big splash in free agency? They're going to pay OBJ and everyone's going to be excited except for coach. Watch. But by the way, guys, if OBJ goes to the Patriots, I'm going to run around in circles and probably take my shirt off and run around the house. So that's probably what's going to happen if that happens. Because I've literally been waiting for that to happen for 10 years. So Sean says, do you think the Patriots are playoff potential? Definitely. Their division is probably by far the best in the NFL, which definitely hurts. But I feel like they're a couple moves away from going to the playoffs. They haven't made those moves yet, but yeah. Packers fans have been waiting for this. The Packers have agreed to terms with All-Pro returner Nixon. 1 year, max of $6 million. That guy's a stud. That guy's a stud returner, so that's a good move by the Packers. I'm surprised it's only 1 year, though. Surprised it's only a 1 year. Mean Joe, what do you mean Jackson? Who Jackson? Lamar? Harley wants Damian to stay. That would be nice. I think he could stay on like a 1 year contract. Lenny, what do you think of Ben Powers, bro? I don't know how much you've seen him play, but what do you think of him, offensive lineman? Kyle Pitts officially proves Ultra wrong as a bad average player. Kyle Pitts, I don't know, man. That is a confusing situation. I have no idea. What did Ian Rappaport do? Oh, he trolled about the Packers news that they've been waiting for. Yeah. The last big trade the Cowboys took took place. What? The last big trade the Cowboys took place in was probably like Roy Williams, says Spub. It's been a while since they've signed like a marquee player or traded for a marquee player. I guess Amari Cooper would be the last one. Amari Cooper a few years ago. We feeling a Leonard Floyd Bears reunion. Does Leonard Floyd want to come back to Chicago? I don't know. I love the fit with Carolina. It could happen. They need that position, Nick, so I wouldn't rule it out. And I do feel Leonard Floyd would probably give good value because I think he's undervalued at this point. So Leonard Floyd, I've always been a fan of him, but I don't know. Does he want to come back to Chicago? That's the question to me. Oh, big move for the Falcons. I am not surprised by this at all. These are just all the ones like I would totally pick for to happen. So David Onyemata of the New Orleans Saints has signed with the Atlanta Falcons. I wonder why. The Atlanta Falcons' new defensive coordinator comes from New Orleans. And the David Onyemata story has been an awesome one. I believe he played in the CFL at one point and was scouted from the Saints. He is now signing with his former defensive line coach, and he will maintain with that defensive line coach in Atlanta. It's a 2-year, $6.75 million deal for David Onyemata. He's going to help out Grady Jarrett in the middle of that Falcons defense. Of course, there's going to be a bit of a scheme change there in terms of how their front looks, but that was a huge addition for them. It's not a huge money contract. David Onyemata, I believe, is 30 or 31 years old, so he's not exactly in his prime any longer, but he's been a very underrated player the last 2 to 3 years for the New Orleans Saints. He's dealt with some injuries, he's dealt with some suspensions, but he's a very good run defender and will definitely help Grady Jarrett loosen him up for the pass rush department, and he's a pretty good pass rusher as well. So really underrated name in the free agent market has gone early here on the first day of free agency. David Onyemata, a big man in the middle of the Falcons defense, finds his home with the Saints. A familiar defense, a familiar scheme, and a familiar name for the Atlanta Falcons. Grabbing a division rival. I like it. I like it for the Falcons. I've always been a fan of David Onyemata, mostly because I've seen him play Tom Brady the last 3 years, and he's just destroyed the Bucs. So when you can do well against Tom Brady as a defensive lineman, you have my respect, because usually he gets rid of the ball too fast for you to ever have any sort of chance. Bethel says, I saw a rumor that the Atlanta Falcons were interested in Marcus Davenport. I did actually project that to happen, but definitely I could see them being interested. It's a matter of what the market is for Marcus Davenport. I could feel like he might get a long-term deal. He might also just get a 1-year deal. So I could see him going a bunch of different routes in terms of what he does there. Sean says, W move. Pat's re-signing Jonathan Jones. Yes. 2-year deal for Jonathan Jones. The Patriots are keeping their Jones secondary intact. I heard that they're trying to sign Brown, Orlando Brown, so that they can team him up with Trent Brown. And eventually our entire team is just going to have the same name at every position. So we're going to have a bunch of guys named Harris at running back. We're going to have a bunch of guys named Bourne at wide receiver. And our entire team is going to be the same name. That's what we're doing in New England. The Bucs are pursuing Baker Mayfield, but several other teams also have expressed interest in the former number 1 pick. Per sources, a lot of moving parts in the quarterback market an hour into the negotiation window, says Tom Pelissaro. The Bucs also plan to release veteran guard Shaq Mason if they can't trade him in the coming days. Mason is due $8.5 million in the last year of his deal. I'd expect him to get released and probably sign a 1 or 2 year deal somewhere else. I could see that as a replacement for Powers in Baltimore. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Shaq Mason makes a lot of sense for the Ravens. Lenny says Ben Powers isn't a mauler in the run game, but he's a good player if you use him right. Thank you for the analysis, Lenny B. Lenny, what are you doing right now? You on spring break, or are you at school? What are you doing, bro? Me and Joe Green says, I love my Patriots, but right now, as it is, we're last in the division. I don't think I disagree with you there. No, actually, as it is right now, we're better than the Jets. I don't know what you mean by that. They don't have a quarterback. So until they get a quarterback, then I'll disagree, but Sean says, I really hope Tyquan Thornton pops off this year. Was expecting maybe big things from him, and I even got his jersey. Wow, you got his jersey already? That's a risky proposition, but I saw that he's put on some size, which he definitely needed. He had such a slim frame last year, but yeah, hopefully year 2 with a better offensive coordinator, better utilization, he can do some things. He definitely showed flashes last year. Lenny's at school. Okay. Matt Corral is available for trade. Ooh, interesting. Already? He's coming off an injury, though, so I don't know how that's going to work. Josina Anderson says, I'm told the following teams have shown interest in Trey Herndon. The Falcons, the 49ers, and the Giants. I'm told Herndon is not returning to Jacksonville. We'll see how his market continues to unfold, from Josina Anderson. So Trey Herndon is a lesser-known name at the nickel position, has been a pretty decent, third or fourth corner in the NFL. He's more of a depth player, but so it looks like Falcons, Niners, and Giants are interested in him. Okay, guys, I'm going to be right back. I've got to go check on something upstairs, and I will be right back in the next couple of minutes to break more news. Thank you guys for tuning in live to the BLV. If you haven't already, make sure to Gronk spike the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for the latest upload, guys. Be right back. Let me know any questions you got. Back. Okay. So I just saw that Onyemata's deal was a lot different than I saw. I originally read, maybe it was a false report, I originally read something like 2 years for like way less money than I thought he would get. So he got 3 years, 38 or 35 million according to Nick. Let's just double check the terms here. Okay. So it's 3 years, $35 million with $24.5 million fully guaranteed over the first 2 years of the deal. Okay. So a lot of guaranteed money up front and probably a third year that they can get out of, probably financially flexible in that third year. So that's a lot. That's more than I thought he would get, honestly. Because of his age, I didn't think he would get that much money. But that's, it's a good signing for Atlanta. It's definitely a position of need. It's a very good player. I would say he's a top 20 D tackle in the league for sure. As long as he can stay healthy, consistent, and available, he's a good player. So I think it's a good signing. It might be a little bit too rich for my blood, but the Atlanta Falcons needed upgrades in the front seven. So I get it. I totally get it. I wonder what his market was elsewhere, though. I will say that. Patriots re-signed Jonathan Jones to a 2-year, $19 million deal. That is extremely affordable. I saw that it's like, that's really good money for the Patriots. Like, I thought he would get a lot more somewhere else. I get that he's a little bit older and he's had an injury or two. But last year he was fully healthy and played really well. And with his ability to be flexible at nickel or perimeter corner, I felt like he would get a lot more money than that. So I think that's an absolute steal for the Patriots. Jonathan Jones, New England, he's back. Only $20 million for 2 years. Love that. Love that contract for New England. So that's a great way to start for Patriots fans right there. And we got rid of Jonnu Smith, which is a addition by subtraction. Former Raiders quarterback Jarrett Stidham is signing a 2-year, $10 million deal with the Broncos, choosing to play for Sean Payton over other options. The deal, which includes $5 million guaranteed and $4 million more in upside, reunites him with Davis Webb, who he has known since he was a teenager. That just seems, you know what that seems like to me for Jarrett Stidham? That just seems like a life decision right there. That feels like a life decision. And I have no problem with it for Jarrett Stidham. No problem with it. I feel like he probably had better career decisions that he could make, probably for less money. But Stidham, do your thing, bro. Do your thing. Go to Denver. Have some fun. Reunite with a buddy. Have a good time. Be a backup. Make your money. Do your thing. Like, Jarrett Stidham, probably looking at it like 2-year, $10 million deal. He's getting 5 guaranteed. Probably more money than he could get anywhere else. And I would think maybe he could get more elsewhere. But to me, what that sounds like is a life decision. I'm going to be a backup for the Broncos for a couple years. Maybe Russell Wilson stinks and I get an opportunity. Possible. But I like it for Stidham. Good for him. I'm a fan of Stidham. I like Stidham. I've always liked Stidham. I think I ranked him like higher in my draft rankings than like any other person I saw that year. I think I had him like 4th in that draft class, which that was a crappy draft class. That was like the Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace, draft class. I think that was Kyler Murray year, I think. Yeah, that was a crappy draft class. But I had Stidham pretty high. He played well in his 2 starts last year, especially against the Niners, the number 1 defense in the league for the Raiders. I just wonder how he would fit into a non-Patriot system. Now, I guess the Sean Payton system is somewhat familiar there, and there's probably a lot of carryover between Sean Payton and Josh McDaniels, so I don't think it's super drastic, but that's an interesting move for Denver, getting a priority backup. Sean Payton is kind of known for that. He likes to bring in backup quarterbacks, and it puts a little bit of pressure on Russell Wilson at least. There's at least a respectable guy behind you that can take your spot at some point. So it puts a little bit of a bump in the bum for Russell Wilson. Yeah, but I like Stidham. Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he's going to get traded today, honestly. NFL Network just keeps talking about him. And I'm like, dude, just talk about something else. Like, players are signing left and right. Talk about somebody else. I think the Patriots will sign somebody relatively soon. I'm going to say within the next hour, Foot. Stidham is not going to be the starter, no. But the backup. With a chance to start if Russell Wilson messes up, I would say. What teams might get better this year? Let's think about it. Chicago, Green Bay, no. NFC South, Falcons potentially. Seattle, New England, the Jets, and AFC North, Browns, maybe. AFC South, no one. Maybe Jacksonville, but like they were already in the playoffs. AFC West, Denver will get better. And those are the ones that come to mind, I guess, going through every division. Yeah. No Bradley Bozeman news. Patriots are closing in on agreement with Carl Davis, which is a depth nose tackle for them. Solid player. I like it. Getting our own done first. I like it. The Texans, the Texans is another. The Texans could be better. I agree. I forgot about them. Sorry, Liam. Lenny says, Mitch, there's a power struggle right now between what the ownership and Frank Reich wants. Reich wants Stroud while ownership wants Young. How do you know that, Lenny? How do you know that? Dylan says Chicago is definitely going to be a better team. The Jets might be an underdog if they get Rodgers. Yeah, I definitely think everyone will say the Jets will get better if they get Rodgers, for sure. Daniel Jones got paid. I will pay. What does that mean? Daniel Jones definitely got paid. I have not seen any reports about that. I think they're picking Stroud. The Washington Commanders are re-signing corner Danny Johnson to a 2-year deal. Okay. Check the link, says Lenny. All right. I believe you, Lenny. I'm not saying you're lying. Laramie Tunsil trade, it could happen. I don't know what for, though. I mean, he's a good player. I think he's always been a bit overrated, in my opinion. He's a good player. Depends what it's worth. Depends what it is. Could it happen? I've seen a couple reports that it could happen. I haven't seen anything too crazy. If I was the Texans, I would keep him. Like, if I was the Texans, you have your offensive line pretty much intact other than your center. So I would pretty much keep the Texans' offensive line where it's at for now. Who do I think the Pats sign next? It looks like they re-signed Raekwon or Roquan or Raekwon. I always get his first name messed up. McMillan. 1 year, $1.6 million. So they're pretty much just re-signing their own guys right now. So if I were to say maybe Jacoby Myers, I don't know. Who do I think the Bears get next? I have no idea, guys. I have no idea. What position? Let's go with position. I think they could get an offensive lineman next. Let's say that. Offensive line. Texans trade Laramie Tunsil and Cooks today. I don't know about the whole Tunsil thing. Cooks, I think will happen. I don't think it will happen today. Could be wrong, though. Anything can happen at any point. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness, Lenny. Former Eagles defensive tackle Jawaan Hargrave has reached an $80 million deal for 4 years with the San Francisco 49ers. Jawaan Hargrave with the 49ers. That is shocking. I did not see that happening. Jawaan Hargrave, one of the best interior linemen in the league. Pass rushers to the 49ers with Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That is some wild stuff right there. I did not see that one coming. Oh my God. Jawaan Hargrave. Shanahan has struck with another defensive lineman. And Hargrave went from the Eagles to the Niners. He chose the Niners over the Eagles. He chose the Niners. Oh, the Eagles are pissed. The Eagles are pissed. Jawaan Hargrave is a monster. And he was perfect for the Eagles. Started out with the Steelers. I felt like was a little underrated with Pittsburgh. Goes to Philadelphia. Develops into an absolute monster of a pass rusher. Double-digit sacks. And now he is a 49er for the next 4 years. $80 million. Jawaan Hargrave. Just like, if you're talking about pass rushing interior defensive linemen, there's maybe 2 or 3 that are better than him in the league, and that's about it. That is about it. It's a short list, and he's perfect for what the Niners do. It's similar to the Eagles, right? They want an attacking front four. They don't really want to blitz very often. And now they've got a real difference maker in Hargrave up the middle. So you're going to have to deal with Hargrave or Bosa. You can't pick both. You got to double one of these guys. So that's going to take some pressure off Nick Bosa. That's going to allow Jawaan Hargrave to feast. And then, oh, by the way, I also got Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead is also really good at football. So this defensive line is going to be tough in San Francisco. Tough. I'm just going to look at some statistics here, because I don't know them off the top of my head. I'm going to be honest. Jawaan Hargrave is 30 years old. I wonder how the contract is structured for the last year or so. But obviously, the Niners don't care. The Niners are trying to win a Super Bowl within the next 3 years. They don't really care about the 4th year. But Hargrave is a D tackle who's honestly gotten better every year of his career. And when you look at guys like Calais Campbell, they have the capacity to play until they're like 35 or 36 years old. Look at Ndamukong Suh, right? So even at 34 years old, Hargrave could still be a pretty good player. But by then, the contract is probably structured in a way where they could probably get out of the deal after 2 years. if, for whatever reason, he's not living up to the contract. But when looking at Javon Hargrave, he had 11 sacks this year with the Eagles. The Eagles led the NFL in sacks, had one of the best years ever in terms of pass rushing productivity. 11 sacks. 7.5 sacks last year. He also went to the Pro Bowl in 16 games. He had double-digit quarterback hits in 2021 and 2022. 18 in 2021, 16 in 2022. This is according to Pro Football Reference. He also has had 60 tackles 3 of the last 4 years, so he's also been productive in terms of just making stops at the D tackle position, which is always impressive because usually D tackles are not the ones making the tackles. So this guy's a beast. I mean, you guys know that already. So he had 6.5 sacks as a nose tackle in Pittsburgh. He's got that kind of versatility where he can play a bit of a nose tackle position as well. Like that's what he played in Pittsburgh, right over the center. And then in Philadelphia, he's been more of like a traditional 3 technique type of D tackle and like a 4-3 system. So that's pretty much what the Niners do, and that's what I would expect him to do with the 49ers. Play inside, play every snap, basically, on the interior. And that's something different for the Eagles, or for the Niners, because the Niners usually have a pretty deep rotation of guys that they utilize. Eric Armstead would line up sometimes on the edge and then play in the inside on passing snaps or passing downs, dependent on situation. Hargrave is always going to be in there. He's kind of like the DeForest Buckner, basically, replacement that you'd never had. That's pretty much what he is DeForest Buckner 2.0 for your defense. So, huge addition for the 49ers, and George Kittle said, let's go. So that's pretty cool. Mike Mcglinchey to the Broncos? Are you serious? Javon Hargrave is ass, says Lenny. Yeah, he was really bad at the end of last year. I felt like he played pretty well, like, in his first couple of years, but yeah, he played bad last year. So I wonder what's going to happen with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he got traded, honestly. But they could keep him around in a depth role. Mike Mcglinchey is expected to sign with the Denver Broncos. Interesting. I didn't really see Mike Mcglinchey and Powers as same scheme fits, because obviously one comes from San Francisco and one comes from Baltimore. McFloppy is gone, says Lenny. I didn't expect him to be back with the Niners. I wonder who they're going to get to replace him, though. Do you guys have any in-house replacements for Mike Mcglinchey in San Francisco that I'm not aware of? That could be like their second round pick or whatever. The Niners also have like 1 million draft picks. So the thing about that is you can afford to spend some bigger money in free agency when you have like 15 draft picks in 1 year, because you could just add all your depth players through the draft. McKivitz, do you like him? Yeah, the Broncos' offensive line is going to be good. I'm not surprised by this strategy at all by Denver. As I said numerous times in the free agency videos, Sean Payton was going to come in here and Sean Payton was going to build the offensive line, because that's what Sean Payton does. A sign of a good Sean Payton team is a good offensive line. You look at the Super Bowl team, you look at what he immediately did with the Saints in 2006, you look at all of the good players that came out of New Orleans on the offensive line. You look at them, New Orleans re-signing Ryan Ramczyk to the highest deal that a right tackle is signed. Like, all these things lead to, Sean Payton was going to come to Denver and he was going to pay for offensive linemen. And he's going to waste no time, because they've got to win right now and they've got to protect Russell Wilson. And if you're really looking at their roster, like, one of their biggest areas of improvement had to be on the offensive line. That was one of their biggest areas of need. I'm expecting them to also address the defense. The defense is already pretty good and has a solid foundation, but they could maybe add a couple pieces. But that will come later on. Who should the Chiefs sign? Asked Brandon. I would say that they should sign. Well, we'll see what they do. I think first and foremost, they have to see what's going on the offensive line. They have to see what's going on at tackle. Are they bringing back Orlando Brown, or are they not bringing back Orlando Brown? Probably not. From there, they've got to try to find a replacement, a veteran replacement. That can be a bridge option, maybe like a Donovan Smith type of player. I'm not saying that's going to be who they sign, but just somebody like that. So they've got to find the Andrew Wiley, Orlando Brown solutions at tackle. That's where it starts. From there, I think they're going to look at wide receiver. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to sign a veteran receiver like Odell or Adam Thielen. Or they could maybe make a trade for a receiver. So I think receiver could also be another area that they look. And then defensively, they've got to look at edge rusher to replace Frank Clark. There's a couple veterans out there like Yannick Ngakoue, or who else is out there? Zadarius Smith could be out there eventually. That, just thinking off the top of my head. Linebacker, they're good. And then Juan Thornhill, is he leaving? So safety could maybe be interesting. Corner is also an area where they're solid, but they like to add corners, so I wouldn't be surprised by that. So overall, there's a few areas. I think there's more areas for the Chiefs than most people think, but wide receiver, tackle, defensive end, those are the primary areas where they're going to try to probably add some players. That's a huge move, man. Jawaan Hargrave to the 49ers. Absolutely huge. That's crazy. I did not see that one coming at all. That one completely shocked me. Completely surprised me. Okay. What's next? Mike Mcglinchey. Okay. So the Broncos are giving right tackle Mike Mcglinchey a massive 5-year deal worth $87.5 million with over $50 million guaranteed. Woo! The McFloppy man making the cash. $87.5 million, $50 guaranteed for Mike Mcglinchey. Personally, I don't think he's worth that money. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Mike Mcglinchey is not worth all of that cash, okay? Because he's been too inconsistent for the 49ers. But he was a first-round pick, which drives up his price. He's in his prime. And usually offensive linemen actually get better around this age. So Mike Mcglinchey might still be getting better. So there's a little bit of projection there, because usually offensive linemen actually play their best from about 27 to like 30. So he could still be getting better. The Broncos have very good offensive line coaching and offensive coaching. I think that is a crazy contract for a guy that is not a great pass blocker. I think that's a crazy contract. $50 million guaranteed, $87.5 million for the full deal. That's wild for a guy that is a better run blocker than pass blocker. But I also understand, because you have Russell Wilson, this huge investment in Denver. Sean Payton needs to address right tackle. It was their biggest need by far. Right tackle was their biggest need by far. So it fits a need. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a okay to good tackle. I would say a good tackle, okay? It's a lot for not a great player. I would have rather paid Orlando Brown. But, I mean, Orlando Brown might get even more than that. So, we'll have to see. If Mike Mcglinchey's getting 87.5 over 5 with 50 guaranteed, Orlando Brown's getting 100 mil. Orlando Brown's getting 100 mil. Probably. I mean, if I'm Orlando Brown's agent, I am smiling ear to ear right now. Mike Mcglinchey's a good football player. Not a great one. Still could get better. Good run blocker. Inconsistent pass blocker. If Kyle Shanahan doesn't want you back, or at least make, an attempt, I don't think, at wanting you back, I'm a little concerned about paying you $87.5 million. But then again, the guy that's paying them, Sean Payton. So you gotta trust. You gotta trust Sean Payton. You just got to. Cameron Sutton, yeah, I saw that. Getting to that next. I'm intrigued to hear what Lenny thinks about Mike Mcglinchey, because I know that's his boy. He hates him, absolutely. Cam Sutton. The Detroit Lions are signing a cornerback. They needed a cornerback, and Cam Sutton is more specifically a nickel corner. 3-year, $33 million, 22.5 guaranteed. Not that surprised. I will say he got more than Jonathan Jones, which I think I wouldn't give Cam Sutton more money than Jonathan Jones, but Cam Sutton does fit the Lions fairly well. He's a really diverse cornerback. He's good in zone, especially, but he can play a bit of man. He's a good run defender, good tackler, kind of like a savvy nickel corner who can blitz. And then he can also play a bit on the outside as well. So, like Jonathan Jones, he does have good versatility. Sutton, though, is somebody that I think is more active at the line of scrimmage. Cam Sutton is a lot closer to somebody like Mike Hilton for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's not quite as good in man coverage as a Jonathan Jones is, but he's very smart in coverage, and he's also very, very aware in run defense. So with the majority of teams playing, heavy nickel packages, your nickel corner needs to be extremely active in run defense because they set the edge for a lot of your defenses. So Cam Sutton is one of those type of guys. So I think it's a good move for a big need for the Lions. They need a cornerback. So Cam Sutton makes a lot of sense. And he's not breaking the bank by any means. It's a solid contract. I think it's fair value. I don't think either side really won this deal. I don't think Cam Sutton stole from the Lions. I don't think the Lions stole Cam Sutton either. But good move for the Lions. They upgrade a position of massive need. I wouldn't be surprised if they addressed corner even more than they already have at this point. But yeah, good player, smart player, still a pretty young player to the Detroit Lions. I know Steelers fans liked him, but I'm not surprised that the Steelers are moving on, considering that they don't usually pay cornerbacks. And they might be drafting one in the first round. They didn't pay Mike Hilton. They didn't pay Cam Sutton either. And I wouldn't be surprised, just like Mike Hilton went to the Bengals and actually got better and is more renowned now, I wouldn't be surprised if Cam Sutton goes from the Steelers, has his best year ever with the Steelers, goes to the Lions, and plays his best football ever at the corner position for the Detroit Lions. But good move by the Lions, addressing a big need, and this is a team that a lot of people are looking to see what they do this offseason because they could be one of those teams to move into the playoffs in the NFC. Nick Gates is a Commander. Wow, okay. I'm surprised by that. Shy Tuttle, Saint, is agreeing to a contract with the Panthers. Okay. Some of these names are not the biggest names that I expected to go on the first day, but here we are. Who would have thunk it? Hey, man, Nick Gates is an absolute warrior. If I was an NFL general manager, I would have signed Nick Gates. That guy came back from a broken left fibula and tibula in a game against Washington and had 7 surgeries. And now he's signing a 3-year deal with the Commanders. Congratulations to Nick Gates, man. Nick Gates is going to probably play right guard, I would assume, for the Washington Commanders. They did need a right guard. Trey Turner was a free agent. He was pretty bad last year. Washington could definitely use some offensive linemen. Nick Gates is a warrior. He's exactly what you want in your locker room. That guy sets an example. Was one of the comeback player of the year candidates. Not a great player, but he's a solid guard. And he also has flexibility to play at center as well. He started at center for the Giants for a year or two. So Nick Gates is a good ad for the Commanders. And I'm happy to see that he got some money, man, because that guy went through hell. 7 surgeries, bro. 7? That's insane. So Nick Gates at the guard for Washington. Okay, after that, Shy Tuttle agreed to a 3-year, $19.5 million deal, which includes $13 million guaranteed at signing for the Carolina Panthers. So Shy Tuttle to the Carolina Panthers. He is going to play interior defensive line for the Carolina Panthers alongside Brian Burns and Derek Brown. They definitely needed some upgrades. Matt Ioannidis is a free agent. He was one of their starters last year. So Tuttle will play alongside Derek Brown. Tuttle's a solid all-around player. I want to say he played more snaps than ever for the Saints last year. Let me see. I'm just going to check his stats. So Shy Tuttle is 27 years old. 17 games last year. 2 sacks. He started 14. So he started the last 2 seasons for the Saints. So the Panthers are very familiar with his play. Just checking any pass rush stats. Tuttle left turtle, yes. He's more of a run defender than a pass rusher. He played about 45 to 50% of the snaps for the Saints the last 2 years. So he'll probably he's getting a raise here in Carolina for sure. I think it's a solid signing. It might be a little bit too much money, but it's a solid signing. He's a solid player. Maybe a little bit of an undervalued player. But that's the second Saints interior defensive lineman that has gotten a big contract on a team. 3 years, $19.5 million, 13 guaranteed. Not bad. Is Jawaan Hargrave playing quarterback for the 49ers? Dave Ziegler, make a move, says Lenny. Bro, my stream service still says 0 views. How messed up is that, bro? Bethel, what do you think? Steelers are quiet. Busboy says, hey, Mitch, I went out for breakfast and didn't know free agency was today. Give me a rundown of what has happened so far. Oh, my gosh, man. I don't have it in front of me, but I'll try my best. So the Broncos have signed 2 offensive linemen. They signed Brandon Powers, the guard from Baltimore, to pretty good money. Mike Mcglinchey at right tackle, your boy from Notre Dame. So that's 2 linemen to help Russell Wilson out. The Patriots traded Jonnu Smith for a 7th-round pick to the Atlanta Falcons, and they re-signed Jonathan Jones. The Steelers lost Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton will be a Detroit Lion. So that guy is gone. Jawaan Hargrave was the huge move. Your boy, Jawaan Hargrave, He is a 49er, believe it or not. A 49er with Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa, which was the biggest shocking move I've seen. TJ Edwards, the linebacker from the Eagles, signed with the Bears. David Onyemata signed with the Falcons. Shai Tuttle signed with the Carolina Panthers. What else? I think that's about it. I mean, I think we got most. Nick Gates signed with Washington. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There haven't been a ton of major moves so far. Couple. I can't believe Jawaan Hargrave is a 49er. That D-line is going to kill people. Yeah, Jonathan Jones went for a lot cheaper than I thought he would, honestly. He went for a 2-year, $20 million deal. Sutton went for similar money. I think it was 3 years, like $33.5 million. So similar money for both players, but yeah. Broncos overpaid Mcglinchey, says Nick. I agree. I said this, Nick. If Kyle Shanahan is not paying you that much, I don't think I want to pay. If I'm an offensive, if it's an offensive lineman, I'm not, an offensive player in general. If Kyle Shanahan's not willing to give you that much money, I'm probably not either. So that's kind of where I stand on Mike Mcglinchey. But I know that Mike Mcglinchey has been heavily criticized by 49er fans. 49er fans do not like Mike Mcglinchey. Now, I think it's been more of an overrated thing, because when you look at the Niners, obviously the right tackle on the opposite side of Trent Williams is going to get the best pass rushers. He's going to have the most pressure on him, and he's also all the time going to be criticized because Trent Williams never gets beat. So when you're on the opposite side of Trent Williams, you look a lot worse than you actually are. So, and what I'll also say about Mike Mcglinchey is I think he could get a lot better because he's just entering his prime right now. So I feel like he could get a lot better. So I think that's what they're hoping. I don't think this is a Nate Solder type of signing where Nate Solder was already in his 30s when the Giants tried to sign him to a long-term contract. Wasn't he a rookie with Joe Staley, though? And sucked. I mean, sucked. Okay, so let's just check Mike McGlinchey's. I know that PFF isn't, the end-all, be-all, but I think sucked is a little extreme. This year he graded well. Again, he's graded well pretty much every year of his career. He was a 9th overall pick in 2018. I'm just trying to play both sides. I think they overpaid, but I do think he's a good player. I don't think he's a great player, so that's why I don't think they should have paid him that much. So he was the he was the 35th graded tackle in the NFL this year. Better run blocker than pass blocker. Pass blocking was worse, right? So yeah, I don't think he's worth that money. But when a player at his age, he is 28, gets to the open market. I thought he was a little younger than that, honestly. At that position, you're going to get paid. That's just the way the NFL works. So I'm trying to play both sides here. Now, when looking at the rest of his career, he's had a good grade every year of his career. He was 43rd in 2021. He was actually in the top 20 in 2020. He was 19th. 34th in 2019 and 24th in 2018. So he's never been worse than the 43rd best tackle in the NFL, which is a good sign. He also hasn't lived up to the 9th overall pick. But that also enhances your price because teams remember what you were when you were picked 9th overall. That's just the way the NFL is. Not saying it's right. The Raiders are closing in on a deal with Jimmy Garoppolo. Sources say after 6 seasons and a Super Bowl appearance with the 49ers, Jimmy G is on his way to Vegas, the site of this season's Super Bowl, to reunite with Josh McDaniels. Jimmy G to the Raiders! Oh my goodness. Jimmy G. Las Vegas just got a lot more handsome, I'll say that much. Oh my goodness, Jimmy G in the home of the porn stars? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but it just came out. I'm sorry. That's pretty funny. Jimmy G. Lenny can't escape him. Lenny's stuck with Jimmy G. Okay, no, but with Jimmy G, for real. Obviously, he has familiarity with the offense. So if Jimmy G were to go anywhere other than Sam, I will say this. Jimmy G is a smart businessman. He knows where he's going to work. He knows where to go. He knows where the coaching is at. And the Raiders is a good place for him. It's a good landing spot for Jimmy G. I'll be intrigued to see what the contract is. My assumption will be it's a 1 or 2 year deal. I'm going to say it's a 2-year deal where in the second year they can get out of the deal. Jimmy G is a really good leader. Jimmy G is well respected by his teammates. Jimmy G has done a lot of winning in the NFL. He did it as a backup in New England when he stepped in for Tom Brady during Deflategate. He did it immediately with the 49ers. He went to the Super Bowl in his 3rd year with the 49ers after getting injured. The biggest problem with Jimmy G has been injuries. That's been the biggest problem with Jimmy G. It's not been his play. His play has been pretty good during his career. Every year he has played, he has been a top 20 quarterback in the league. Last year, Derek Carr was bad for the Las Vegas Raiders. Objectively bad. Not good. Not average. Derek Carr was bad. Like a bottom 12 quarterback in the NFL. That is how he played. Jimmy G could be an upgrade from Derek Carr for a year or two from how he played last year. Not saying that Derek Carr is not a better player overall. He is more talented. Has he been more successful? Not as a winner, but as an individual, yeah, Derek Carr has been better than Jimmy G. But Jimmy G knows the system better. Jimmy G fits the system better. And Jimmy G is accurate. He's got a quick release. He's good in the pocket. Gets the ball out on time. That's all things Josh McDaniels wants. Obviously, Josh McDaniels was always heavily tied to whoever was playing quarterback in New England as the offensive coordinator. He often had a hand in the decision with those drafted quarterbacks. So I'm sure he's always been a fan of Jimmy's game. And I think for a bridge option, Jimmy is probably about as good as it gets as a bridge option for a team. So I'm not surprised this has happened. I thought it was between the Raiders and the Texans for Jimmy G. The Texans could obviously go through the draft. And Jimmy probably liked the Raiders more because look at the offense, man. You've got great weapons. You've got Devontae Adams. You've got Hunter Renfrow, who I think actually Hunter Renfrow will be nice with Jimmy G, I think. Darren Waller. You got Josh Jacobs. They've got to secure the right side of the offensive line. And they're going to definitely work on the defense. But I like the fit with the Raiders. I like the fit with Josh McDaniels. It gives Josh a quarterback that he knows the offense. And I think that's the most important thing for him. As we saw last year, we saw Stidham come in as a guy that really was pretty unknown and unproven. And just because he knew the offense, they put up some points. So I think that's going to do pretty well. I'm just concerned for his well-being being in Vegas. I mean, there just might be too. I mean, he's going to have a lot of fun. Let's just say that. Jimmy G is signing with the Raiders. I'm still trying to see what the contract is. Now, though, this is interesting because the Jets don't have a backup plan. I don't know what the Jets' backup plan is going to be. I don't know what it's going to be. I thought it was going to be Jimmy G. And I thought Garoppolo's decision would come after Aaron Rodgers' decision because of that. The Jets got to go all in for Aaron Rodgers at this point. Or else they're going to be stuck with some, like, pretty bad quarterback. I mean, they could always go for, like, Jacoby. Or they could go for Minshew or something like that. So now this is surprising, the contract details of Jimmy Garoppolo. So Jimmy is getting a 3-year, $67.5 million deal, including $34 guaranteed. I'm not sure how that stacks up to Derek Carr. It's obviously less than Derek Carr. I'm not sure what the yearly average is. I'm sure the Raiders look at Jimmy Garoppolo as probably an upgrade over Derek Carr. I'm almost positive that's what they think. I'm not saying they're correct in thinking that, but I'm thinking that's what they think. I will say if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be your guy for the next 2 years, which it appears by this contract it's going to be, obviously we need to see the structure of the contract. You got to get a pretty good backup in there because Jimmy's going to get hurt. He always gets hurt. That's the thing. Is if Jimmy is going to be your quarterback, you have to have a backup plan at quarterback as well. So Jarrett Stidham signed with the Broncos. That could have been your backup plan. We'll see where they go in terms of backup quarterback. Maybe they draft one, but we'll see. Yeah, the Raiders, I do think we'll see what they do on defense. But with Jimmy there at quarterback, they've got a chance now to be pretty compelling this year. Obviously, some people thought they might go for Aaron Rodgers. That didn't happen. Probably never was going to happen. I was hoping it might, but just because I didn't want him to go to the Jets. And I hope he doesn't. Andrew Wiley has signed with the Washington Commanders. 3 years, $24 million. Interesting. Okay, we'll get to that. Any questions about Jimmy G? Derek Carr was not a top 15 quarterback in the NFL last year, Nick. No. So let's check. So I honestly, if I were to say what were the like just looking at a statistical comparison for Jimmy Garoppolo, I know that Jimmy was probably in a better situation, but at the same time, I mean, the Raiders had the leading rusher in the NFL and they had Devontae Adams. So it wasn't a lot better, but when you look at Jimmy Garoppolo last year, 7-3 as a starter, he had 16 touchdowns to 4 picks. He had a 103 passer rating. He had a 67 completion percentage. Really good numbers. Like, really good numbers in that Niner offense. Is not asked to do a ton in that offense, but it'll probably be similar for him with the Raiders. I'm not, like, too concerned about that. And Derek Carr, on the other hand, you know, the numbers are worse across the board. 24 touchdowns to 14 picks. Only 3,500 yards in 15 games. 86 passer rating, which is like 15 points lower. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Jimmy G, they're about the same level of quarterback. I just feel like Jimmy G's a better fit for McDaniels. I'm actually going to look up quarterbacks right now. Miami is giving Mike White a 2-year, $16 million deal. So there goes the backup plan for the Jets. Mike White is gone. And the Dolphins got their backup quarterback. So now we know the answer. Who will be the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins in January? Mike White. Sign up. 2 years, $16 million. Let's check out. I want to see where Jimmy's contract. I'm checking contracts right now. I don't think the Raiders are going to draft a quarterback, Bus, in the first round. I don't think so. So Derek Carr is making $37.5 million per year. So 3 years, 67 would be, it's 18th. So that's a lot less than Carr. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Carr's 10th. So yeah, I think that's pretty good value for Jimmy. The only thing I'd be scared of, I would have rather have signed him to a 1 or 2 year deal for the same amount of money. Maybe even a little bit of more than that. Just because of the injuries. Mike White. Glad to see him getting a chance. He's definitely going to play this year. We know he's going to play this year. $8 million a year. Yeah, roughly about $8 million a year. It's 2 years, $16 million. I don't know how much of that is guaranteed though. How much of that is bonus, how much of that, but yeah, it's a good deal. Mike White in the Dolphin offense. I never really saw that connection. I will say about Mike White, he's a gamer. Seems like a great personality, great guy, great teammate. Teammates love him. He is good in the short passing game. He is quick-minded. Yeah, I think Mike White to the Dolphins makes some sense. I'm not sure if he's great in like the whole RPO stuff like Tua is. That's where Tua's kind of like, that's his best skill set, is just how good he is in those RPOs. But I think Mike White, solid backup for sure. Good signing by the Dolphins. I said that's a priority for them. They need to get a good backup. I think Mike White's a solid backup. I wouldn't say he's like upper echelon backup, but he's come in with the Jets and he's performed well. And the schemes are pretty similar, right? You go from Mike LaFleur in New York, who was the OC of the Jets last year, to Mike McDaniel, who runs a very similar offense, just a better version. So that connection also makes sense. And I'm sure that after Mike McDaniel saw that Mike LaFleur got fired, that McDaniel probably contacted him about this signing right here and said, what do you think of this guy? So, hey, that's probably something. Steeler Nation. I just spilled. Steeler Nation says that Jimmy G to the Steelers is a better, or Jimmy G to the Raiders, my bad. Jimmy G to the Raiders, I'm using a piece of paper to clean up my mess. Jimmy G to the Raiders is a better move than the Saints getting Derek Carr. Interesting. I think the Saints getting Derek Carr was just stupid, honestly. Like, no hate to Derek Carr. Like, I feel like that has nothing to do with Derek Carr. That has everything to do with the Saints. I think the Saints are just dumb. They're a stupid franchise. I feel like they should rebuild. Steeler Nation says, I'll miss Cam Sutton, hoping we draft Joey Porter in the draft. There's a lot of corners in this draft. A lot of corners. Busboy says the Steelers need to stop messing around and sign Jamel Dean. Everybody wants my boy Jamel Dean. Don't worry, I'm going to go crazy when Jamel Dean signs. Jamel Dean is an original BLV gang. So the Chiefs lost their starting right tackle. Andrew Wiley signed a 3-year deal for $24 million with the Commanders. Wiley started 59 games in 5 years for Kansas City and had the game of his life in the Super Bowl against Philadelphia. Nice payday for Wiley. I'll say this to me is an overpay. To me, Andrew Wiley is a completely replaceable starting right tackle. He's He's like a borderline starter backup type. And for whatever reason, Washington has an affinity for these type of players. They love to sign like the 45th best tackle in the NFL. I will say though, Andrew Wiley for $24 million compared to Mike Mcglinchey for $50 guaranteed and $87.5 million is not bad. I'd probably rather have Andrew Wiley for $24 million on a 3-year deal than Mike Mcglinchey for $50 guaranteed. But Wiley's a fine player. He has started at right tackle for the last 3 or 4 years for like the best offense in the NFL. So that says something. And Eric Bieniemy knows him well. Eric Bieniemy is the new OC of Washington. So you would expect similar success for Andrew Wiley. That is like low-end starter, high-end backup quality play at right tackle for the Commanders. Did I like the breakdown of my mock? Yeah, it was solid, Bus. It helped me out. Thank you, man. I definitely talked about it. I don't know if you saw that video that I made where I did fix every team in 1 minute, but I brought your name up like probably 20 times. So I don't know if you saw that, but I gave you more than a few shout outs. You think Derek Carr can play a good ball for another 5+ years? I don't know, man. Maybe, but like I don't know if he's going to be there for 5+ years. They might get sick of him after like 3. I just think I'm after last year, I thought it was Derek Carr's year to like prove himself, and he played like the worst ball he played in 3 years. So I'm like totally off the Derek Carr thing as a long-term solution at quarterback. I feel like he is what people think Jimmy is. Like he's like a good option, a fine option. He's an average player. I don't think he's anything special. He would have to be on an exceptional team for me to buy in. He's just never done enough in the NFL at this point. I think the proof is in the pudding. Like, I get it. He hasn't had a great defense as a career, but like he's had plenty of chances to prove that he's a great quarterback, and he's nothing more than a good player. I like the guy. Don't get me wrong. I think he's talented. I don't think he's like some special player. I thought he had a really good year last year. And he didn't live up to it in 2022. The Texans are signing former Patriots and Browns pass rusher Chase Winovich. Nick Caserio had him in New England. That's a good fit. I like Chase Winovich in D'Amico Ryan's defense. I never thought he was a good fit for New England. I was actually kind of surprised with how well he played in New England in his rookie season. After that, it went downhill after his rookie season because he's just not a good run defender. But as a pass rusher, he's pretty good. So if he can stay healthy, I think that's a solid depth signing for the Texans. Nothing crazy, but a good little addition for the Houston Texans on the edge of their defense. That's one where I could see Chase Winovich having a breakout year. I feel like he's been close a couple times to being a better player than he's put out so far. I liked him coming out of college, liked him in New England as a pass rusher. Texans are also signing Case Keenum to a 2-year deal. That's interesting. That could be a mentor for a rookie quarterback. That could be a bridge for the first few games, maybe. We'll see. But yeah. So according to Raiders beat reporter Sanjeet, Jimmy Garoppolo at $22 million per year gives the Raiders a lot of flexibility in building the roster. He says that they still may draft a quarterback. The cap hit will likely be around $15 to $17 million, and we can probably get out of the contract in a year with minimal dead cap. So that if that's what the deal is, I think that is a good deal for the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to pick an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman in the first round. Hey, I just noticed that the Patriots now have a 7th round pick because of that Jonnu Smith trade. I thought they already had one, but I guess not. They have 4 sixths. 4 sixths and 3 fourths. Obviously a first, second, and third. Okay. Connor McGovern to the Bills. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Thanks. Yeah, Connor McGovern. Not the Jets Connor McGovern, right? The Cowboys Connor McGovern. It's so confusing that there's 2 Connor McGovern. The same name, almost the same position. Like, how does that even happen? But Connor McGovern, this makes sense because if you look, like, I'll just look at Connor McGovern's PFF grades right now. You look at Connor McGovern, 64th overall guard. The Bills don't like to spend a lot of money on their interior offensive linemen. That's a fact. But Connor McGovern, 76.6 PFF pass blocking grade, which is actually .13th. So 64th overall graded lineman, 13th in pass blocking. So he's a good pass blocker, limited run blocker. Buffalo Bill. Makes sense. They needed protection on the interior at guard for Josh Allen. If you watch Bills games last year, there's a lot of moments where Josh Allen is getting pressure and he's having to step up into the pocket and make throws. And that's going to help him do that. So, yeah, that was one of the biggest priorities for the Bills is to get protection on the interior for Josh Allen. And they've done that with that move. Update on the Pats, not really. Your boy Jimmy G signed with the Raiders, in case you wanted to know that. $404 days of Rita Oak drawing Jimmy G has finally ended. Okay. Texans Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunsil has been discussed in potential trade scenario with the Chiefs, according to league sources. Fluid situation on whether it happens. However, Chiefs potentially retaining Orlando Brown has not been ruled out. By the way, the Connor McGovern deal was 3 years, $23 million, so very similar to Andrew Wiley. 50% of the Connor McGoverns are available in free agency. Says Mike Garafolo. Yeah, Jimmy G and Josh McDaniels. That'll be fun, right? Josh Allen is a pretty humble guy. I wouldn't worry about that. He seems pretty humble. Why do you want him to stay humble? That's funny. Yeah, so right now it's a little slow. Julian says Josh Allen is the Dak of the AFC. Josh Allen is a lot better than Dak. I'm sorry. A lot better. Caesar, what do you think about losing Connor McGovern, bro? Oh! Former Jags offensive tackle Jawaan Taylor has reached an agreement on a 4-year, $80 million deal, including 60 guaranteed. That's more than Mike Mcglinchey. That's $10 million more guaranteed money than Mike Mcglinchey with the Kansas City Chiefs. Jawaan Taylor. Interesting. Jawaan Taylor is young. He's going to replace Andrew Wiley. I don't know if I love this for the Chiefs, honestly. Like, this has potential. Jawaan Taylor could be a really good player. But so far in his career, he hasn't been great. He's been a bit of a he's still a bit of a project. Even getting all this money. I thought he had his best year of his career last year protecting Trevor Lawrence. He was, I want to say, a second-round pick a few years ago for Jacksonville, an early second-round pick. And now he's getting an $80 million deal, 50 guaranteed. Jeez, Jawaan Taylor, man. Jawaan Taylor to the Chiefs. I didn't expect them to put all this money into a tackle that was not named Orlando Brown. So he's 25 years old. That's a big factor. He's young. He has played all of his games in his career. He's never missed a game. 100%. That's huge. So availability, youth, both big. 100% of the snaps in 19, 20, and 21. 98% in 2022. So he's available. He's available. Then we go from there. His grade last year was 65th in the NFL at tackle, according to Pro Football Focus. But he had a terrible run blocking grade, 39.7, which is maybe the worst in the entire NFL. So he's extremely one-dimensional. He was the worst right tackle in the NFL at run blocking, according to PFF. Not the Bible, but one source. But he is a good pass blocker. Last year, he had a positive pass blocking grade, 75.9, which puts him, above average, I would say. But years before that, right, he's never had a good grade, according to PFF. 49th in his rookie season, 71st in 2020, 67th in 2021, 65th in 2022. So he's never graded well. That's a lot of money for a guy that, at least according to PFF, is not very good. But let's continue to check his stats. I thought he played a lot better last year. If you watch Jacksonville play, they didn't allow a lot of pressure, especially from the tackle position. And Andy Reid's very good with offensive linemen. He's very good at finding offensive linemen. He's very good at fixing and upgrading and elevating offensive linemen. And he's not afraid to pay offensive linemen. I'll say that. Yeah, Julian, he definitely got better this year. I'm not disagreeing with you, but still, I think it's probably a bit too expensive for my taste. So I'm looking at all his stats here. So he allowed 5 sacks on the year, which isn't bad. 15 hurries, 21 pressures. So his 21 pressures is a pretty good number. That would make sense. Pass blocking grade. He's a solid young player. I think they overpaid him though, honestly. Chiefs are moving on from Orlando Brown. The one question I have, Jawaan Taylor, will he play left tackle? or will he play right tackle? Played right tackle with the Jags, or Cam Robinson was there with Jacksonville. Could he move to left tackle? That's a possibility. Usually with Patrick Mahomes, you would want a better left tackle because Mahomes is so evasive on the right side. Yeah, like I think that's... See, I don't want to be critical of the Chiefs just to be critical of the Chiefs. This move will probably work out for them because they're just that good at football. And they've got a great coach and a great quarterback. So Jawaan Taylor's going to look better than he's played. There's no question. And he's probably going to get better coaching than he's ever gotten. And he's still young. He's 25. And as I've said numerous times, offensive linemen usually peak around 27, 28, 29 years old. So he still hasn't peaked yet, right? Just like Mike Mcglinchey, both got overpaid in free agency. Both are fine football players that got paid at an elite rate. That is too expensive for me. I would have rather had Andrew Wiley at 3 years, $24 million. That's just me. But hey, that is the way it is. Julian, you're right. That's the way it is. For offensive tackles in this league, if you want one, you've got to pay a lot. That's the way it is. I get it. I wouldn't have done it personally. And Jacksonville didn't do it. Brad says the Pats should do everything to sign Lamar. Hold on, I got to read Harley Quinn's message because she just gave me $20. And her face is all over me right now. Look at this. Okay. Got this. Okay. She says, it's funny the first day I'm able to hang out in this chat falls the first day of such an exciting week. I was absolutely clueless. What's new? You're always clueless, Harley Quinn, but that's why we love you in this chat. Thank you so much for your super chat, and thank you so much for your support. I thought you were gone. I thought you left the community, but you're back. That's awesome. Free agency week all week. We're going to be live more than a few times this week, so I'm excited. Harley, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for the super chat and your comment. Mike Boone to Houston. No offense, Bethel, but who cares? Any Browns news? No, not really. Not from what I've seen. Now the Jags have a tackle question. I wouldn't be surprised if they draft one. So I guess Orlando Brown's going elsewhere. And again, given the news about Jawaan Taylor and Mike Mcglinchey, you would have to expect that Orlando Brown is going to get $100 million. You would have to expect that. Tunsil to the Chiefs? I don't think so. I mean, are they really going to put like draft capital, tons of money into both tackle positions? I mean, that's going to leave them a little dry at wide receiver and pass rush and defense. I don't know. I wouldn't. I wouldn't trade for Tunsil after signing Jawaan Taylor to that money. I wouldn't. Yeah, but Jawaan Taylor's a good pass blocker. Makes sense for a team that loves to pass the ball. I do think he's got to improve as a run blocker, though. Especially. Reading the updates. I wonder where Orlando Brown's going to go. I'm always nice to the Lions. I have a lot of subscribers that are Lions fans, and it's because before you were ever here, Harley, I was on the Lions bandwagon. So even before you were subscribed to the channel, I've always been nice to the Lions, though. The reason why I wasn't as nice last year is because so many people joined the bandwagon. And I felt like it was... Some of the praise was warranted, but some of it was unwarranted. I felt like it went a little bit overboard. Foot says, when will the Patriots sign someone? So far, I'm happy with what the Patriots have done. But they're coming. There's a lot of free agents available right now. So I wouldn't stress. I wouldn't worry. A lot of the guys that have been signed, I'm not really in love with for the Patriots anyways. I haven't been hurt by a single signing yet. I wasn't like, damn, I really wanted the Patriots to sign Jawaan Taylor. You know what I mean? So. Barry Sanders GOAT, says Coach. He's up there. He's up there. You're forgetting about the great Ezekiel Elliott there, Coach, but Barry Sanders. The Chiefs are out on star left tackle Orlando Brown moving forward. Jawaan Taylor is expected to play left tackle. There we go. So, that's your answer right there. Jawaan Taylor's going to move to left tackle, I think. Orlando Brown to the Bears? Is that real? Or are you just making that up? I'm right about Jimmy G. I do think he's a better fit for the Raiders. I'm not necessarily saying he's better than Derek Carr straight up, but for the Raiders, I think he's better for them. I also like that the contract it's like 16, no, more than that. It's about 16 million less per year. So 16 million is like a really good defensive player. 16 per year is like a really good defensive player that the Raiders could invest in. That's the difference between Derek Carr's contract and Jimmy Garoppolo's contract with the Saints and the Raiders. So, I think it's a good move for the Raiders. I'm surprised that he got that much, honestly, because of like the term. I'm surprised by 3 years. I expected Jimmy to sign a 1 or 2 year deal. Like 3 years is a little surprising. Jesse Bates news? No, not yet. I'm expecting him to go to Atlanta, but I wouldn't be surprised if New England was in on Jesse Bates. After Devin McCourty retired, he is like the closest thing I've seen to Devin McCourty in the NFL. Jesse Bates is a very similar player. Best safety on the market for sure, Jesse Bates. Singh says, did Orlando Brown sign? Not yet. Raiders won't win 7 games next year, says Brad. I don't know. We'll see what they do this offseason. They've got a premier pick, and they've got lots of cap space left. We'll see what they do. If they can upgrade their defense, I think they'll win more than 7 games. But if they don't, then they won't. And that's really period. That's all it is. That's all it's about. Because offensively, they're going to score. Brad says, why the Lamar hate? The front offices see him as a quitter, or is it an agent conspiracy? So I think part of it is conspiracy because I think the owners didn't like how Deshaun Watson got all guaranteed money, and Lamar wants the same contract, as he should, because he's better than Deshaun Watson. He's won an MVP, and Deshaun Watson has not. And I think there's some conspiracy to that because owners have kind of combined and discussed that they don't want this guaranteed money at this rate for any player in the NFL. So there's part of that. And then on top of that, if you're an NFL team, you have to give up 2 first-round picks at the very least. You have to give up long-term security to a player that has been injured as of late. I'm a huge Lamar fan. If I was a team, I would pay Lamar. I would pay what it takes to get Lamar. I think he's that good. But I understand why teams may be a bit shy, because there's only so many teams that actually legitimately can get Lamar from a cap space standpoint and a draft pick standpoint. So it's tricky, if you know what I mean. Sports Today says the Broncos have been the best team in free agency so far. I disagree a little. I mean, it's been very short-lived. I thought they overpaid for Mcglinchey. I love the Powers. I love the Powers contract. I agree 100%. I'm a Powers fan. And I like the overall strategy of what they've done, which is address the offensive line. So I agree partly. And I also like the Stidham deal. I agree. Sports Today says, love the Lions signing Sutton, 3 years, $33 million, would immediately be their number 1. He's more of a nickel corner, though, from what I've seen. So I'd expect him to play in the nickel, but he can play outside. Sports Today says he allowed the 9th fewest yards, top 10 in pass breakups, 3 interceptions, 69 rating. Yeah, he had his best year of his career last year with the Steelers. And I kind of said, like, I could see him playing like how Mike Hilton did. I could see him going to a new team and actually playing better. For whatever reason, that happens with Steeler corners. I don't think the Steelers are best at getting the most out of their corners for whatever reason, but they're good at getting the most out of guys in the front 7. Let me just check something with Sutton here. He's more than a nickel, but I think most of his snaps, I was just going to check that. I think most of his snaps came in the nickel. So that's what I was checking. I think because in nickel base, he probably played nickel for them. Let's see. But that's not like a downgrade, though. Yeah, he did play a lot last year. You guys are right. He played more outside than nickel last year. 655 snaps out wide last year. Might have been 2021 then. Yeah, so he kind of plays in both. Pretty split. 2020, he played more in the slot than out wide. Yeah, I agree with you, Sebastian, definitely. I don't think the Steelers are in a bad spot at corner, though. They don't put a lot of stress on their corners overall. So that's a concern of getting a Steeler corner, is like they don't really ask a lot from like a man coverage standpoint out of their corners. They play a lot of zone blitz. So that's why the Steelers don't invest a lot of money into their corners. They invest a lot of money into their front 7. But when you look at, like, they've got Levi Wallace, who they signed. He's fine. They've got Ekeler Witherspoon. They might need to draft a corner, though. They had William Jackson. They let him go. I want to see what they do at linebacker, the Steelers. Sports Today says they pair him with Gonzalez or Witherspoon in the draft, they'd be set. Honestly, bro, I think that could happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if they actually went like edge again. I don't know how Lions fans feel about that, But I think in your defense, I think it would be wiser to go with like another edge rusher. If there's one there. If not, I understand going with the best corner. But like I don't think it's completely out of the question after signing Cam Sutton. Because I mean they put such a high capital pick into Okuda. I know that's a different regime. I don't know. I'm just saying it's a possibility. It's probably still going to be a corner. But I'm just saying. I wouldn't hate it. Their pass defense in general needs to get better, so. Will says, do you think Derrick Henry will be traded? That would be pretty exciting. Not gonna lie. I don't know, man. It's just weird to see Derrick Henry in a different uniform. I know how much he means to that franchise, that fan base, that team. I know Mike Vrabel loves him, so that I don't know. It depends on the timeline for the Titans, what they think. Do they think they can compete this year? What's their plan? Bethel says William Jackson was atrocious for us. Yeah, I didn't understand why you guys signed him. Like, he was kind of I guess a high upside possibility for you, but I've always felt like William Jackson has been two different players. He's been a player that when he plays man coverage, he's good, and when he plays zone coverage, he's bad. And that's pretty much what he is. Sports Today says, have any wide receivers signed? I don't think so. Odell back to the Rams is the number one spot. McVay wants offense. I don't see it from OBJ. I think OBJ is going to try to go to a team that can win more games. The Rams aren't winning any games this year. They're going to win like 6 games. Bobby Wagner, the Steelers. It's a possibility. I think it's unlikely. I don't think Bobby Wagner is the best fit with the Steelers, personally. He's never played in a defense like the Steelers. Yeah, Case Keenum is going to the Texans. Probably as the backup. Let's see what team makes a trade for Ekeler. I have no idea, but I don't expect it to happen soon. Brandon says OBJ to the Chiefs. That could happen. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, so nothing's happened as of late. Gronk spike the like button, guys, if you haven't already. Helps new people find the channel in this video, in this stream. Who should the Pats draft first? I don't have any specific people that I have in mind. I mean, I would like a receiver or a tackle. And preferably, my strategy would be to trade for a receiver or sign a receiver in free agency and then draft a tackle. I like Jones, the right tackle, from what I've seen. Those would be probably my preferences. I think the other possibility would be cornerback, but I feel like they would probably get a corner later in the draft. But they just re-signed Jonathan Jones, so I don't think that's as big of a responsibility for them to kind of figure out because they got enough corners now. But yeah, right tackle would be kind of my decision. If I was building the Patriots, I would get a receiver right now, and then I would draft a tackle. Yes, another Jones. Wouldn't it just be perfect? Sports Sports Today says thoughts on Mike Silver still saying that Brady to San Francisco is still a possibility. He said they still have the cap to sign him. I don't think he's coming back, but that's his only option left. Miami is out. I would love that to happen, but I don't think it will happen. Marco says Jordan Poyer to the Raiders. Haven't heard anything yet. I saw that Jordan Poyer reacted to it on Instagram. That's all I saw. Thoughts on Pat's liking Dorsett? I saw that. I mean, I like Philip Dorsett as a depth receiver, a camp body. That's fine. I don't think he'd even... I don't want to say he wouldn't make the team, but I don't know. I feel like he's kind of like a backup plan type guy. Bobby to the Cowboys news? No, nothing. Yeah, Sports Today, you're right. Cowboys doing nothing every year is the saddest thing in existence. It's the same circle every year. Yeah, I know. I don't know what's up with the Cowboys. Jerry Jones too tight with his money. If Jawaan Taylor is getting 4 years, $80 million, $60 guaranteed, what's Tristan Wirfs going to get when his contract's up? Like $160 million? like what is Tristan Wirfs going to get? Bro, if I'm Tristan Wirfs, I'm just praying I don't get hurt this year. I'm just praying I stay healthy for this season, man. I mean, that guy is going to get paid. Oh my God. And he's probably going to be on a shit team for like the rest of his career too. Like I hope Tampa Bay is good in the future, but I don't know. For all we know, they probably sold their soul for that one Super Bowl with Brady. Okay. So I'm still sticking around for now. Nothing's happened in the last like 15, 20 minutes. So I'm probably going to come back. I'm definitely going to come back again today. I'm just wondering when I should maybe like dip for a bit and then come back. Wirfs is about to get onto the TB12 program for his health. Yes. Caesar says Tampa Bay, future Tank Bowl champions 2024. That would be funny. I kind of feel like Tampa is just going all in on a tank. If they're serious about Kyle Trask playing quarterback in 2023, they are tanking. There's no question. If they're actually serious about Kyle Trask. I don't know if you guys seen Kyle Trask play in preseason. I have not been impressed. Now, if they sign Baker Mayfield, at least they'll become, somewhat respectable. They won't be playing an absolute backup. Grunk, spike the like button, guys, if you haven't. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask because no news has broke in a minute. So, ask now. Minshew's better than Baker. I agree. I'd rather have Minshew at this point. I think we've seen enough from Baker. Tunzel Chiefs. I don't see it happening. People keep bringing this up. I don't see it happening. They just signed Jawaan Taylor to a $60 million guarantee contract. I don't see them putting money into both tackles at that rate. Sports Today says Jimmy G's deal is very cheap, $22.5 per year. Bridge quarterback. I mean, I think he's better than a bridge quarterback. I know that that's kind of like what we've been thinking, but if you think about it, Jimmy G is an average starting quarterback. He has been for his entire career. And I think you can win with Jimmy G. That's all he's done in his career. If you look at his record, he was 7-3 last year with the Niners, I believe, as the starter. And what I like about it is at least it allows the Raiders to spend money elsewhere. It's like if you had a guy like Derek Carr who's $37.5 million compared to $22.5, that's a significant portion of money that you could spend elsewhere. So I think it's smart for the Raiders. And like you said, it's a bridge quarterback with kind of more potential than being just that. Sam says, who do you think the Eagles get in free agency? I think they're going to sign their own players. I think they're probably looking at Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to come back. And I thought they were going to try to get Javon Hargrave back, but obviously he's gone. So will they try to re-sign Fletcher Cox for a year? And then from there, I think they're going to work on corner for sure. James Bradbury is a possibility to come back. But corner, I think they need to upgrade in their man coverage. Safety is a possibility. I think they're good on the O-line. I think they're good on offense, honestly. I think it's going to be D-line and secondary primarily for the Eagles if they spend money, which they don't have a lot of money. There's going to be guys leaving the Eagles. They're going to have to do their thing in the draft. That's what Eagles fans should be looking forward to. They have 2 first-round picks. So they're going to be able to replenish that talent in the draft with those first-round picks. They don't have a lot of money to spend, which, fair enough. They had the most talented roster in the league last year, so you would only expect them to kind of like lose players at this point. Hargrave, though, going to the Niners hurts. Like, if you would have went to, like, Seattle, that would have been a lot easier to swallow than the Niners. Wide receiver 3, yeah, I mean, maybe like a cheap one. Maybe like a slight upgrade over Quez Watkins. That could happen. I don't think anything crazy, though. Nothing crazy. Maybe running back, like... Okay. Do you think the Eagles trade for Austin? Austin. Who's Austin? Austin. Trade for Austin. Austin. Who are you talking about? Austin Ekeler? I've never heard anyone call Ekeler Austin. I've never heard that. I guess that's possible. Yeah. Eagles would be in that camp where I would say, like, yeah, that's possible. That's the first time anyone has ever said Ekeler and referred to him as Austin. But yeah, Ekeler, like the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bills, the top competitors I would expect to be in on Austin Ekeler. Because I think he's a short-term type of solution. But he's a very good player. And he's very good in the passing game, which adds value. All right, guys. I think I'm just going to wrap up the first stream right here. And then I'm going to come back later with more news that I can discuss at a later time. Because nothing is happening right now. It's very dead. So I'm just going to end it right here. But One Pride 40, I'm going to answer your question right now. So if you haven't already, Gronk, spike the like button and subscribe. I will be live later again tonight. He says, yo, Mitch, what do you think of Sutton coming to the Lions? I think it's a very solid move. Sutton's a good player. I will say with the Lions, they have been playing more man as of late, and that's one of the areas I would say Sutton isn't as great at. But I like his versatility. I think he's a smart player. I think he's a good zone corner, especially. He can play inside or outside. He can start in the nickel, or he can play, perimeter corner for them. So I think that's great versatility. The contract value is very fair, and he had his best season of his career last year. So all those things are great, and they definitely needed a corner. So I think, solid value, solid football player, not an elite player, but like a good corner at a position of need. So, yeah, I thought the signing was very solid. Very solid. So, that is it, guys. Thank you for watching. We will see you later on tonight with more NFL free agency news. It's Mitch of the BLV. Enjoy your day. Peace.